There are no terrible sounding pressings of Badfinger straight up. Each has distinct characteristics, positives and negatives, and your preference for a particular pressing probably hinges on the qualities that you value most in your listening experience. The vinyl versions of this album have been out of print since the 1990s, so if you're searching for a copy, you'll need to consider a pre-loved one. Read used. First, an A-B comparison between the US and German pressings. The US pressing has a crispy sound, at times bordering on harsh, although I wouldn't dismiss it altogether. The US pressing is still quite listenable, just not as involving as the German pressing. I'm not hearing the kind of occasional sharp sibilance on the US pressing that the German copy has, but instead, the consonants have a smeary sound on Take It All, which was the track I used to compare the different pressings. The EQ on the German pressing is balanced and pleasing with none of the harshness of the US pressing despite having more high end. The only criticisms I have of the German pressing are that it has a sharp sibilance and its EQ isn't as involving as some of the other pressings. If you do most of your listening on headphones like I do, this could be a deal breaker. The German copy wins this round in its comparison to the US pressing. Next, an A-B comparison between the German and Japanese pressings. The Japanese pressing has great presence, a clean sound with less high end than the German pressing, which is actually a good thing. The snare has a crisp, clear, cracking sound, which gives these songs the drive that they need. The Japanese pressing sounds warmer than the German pressing and has better low-end EQ. The Japanese pressing also has an open, clear sound with a small amount of sibilance. The Japanese pressing wins out in comparison to the German because it has a more pleasing EQ and less sibilance. Next, in A-B comparing the Japanese pressing to the UK and Danish ones, I've grouped the UK and Danish pressings together because they use the same stampers, with Porky on side 1 of the dead wax and Pecco on side 2 of the dead wax. In other words, they are the same pressing. The Denmark UK pressing has a darker sound than the Japanese pressing. It is more focused on the mid-range and doesn't have the air around the instruments that the Japanese pressing has. However, the UK Danish pressing has no sibilance. This is an important distinction that sets this pressing apart from all the others. Country of origin masterings tend to use the original master tapes for their pressings, and my guess is that the reason that the UK Danish pressing is free of sibilance and has a more neutral EQ is that the master tapes were used. The final winner of the best pressing comparison, I would have to say it's a tie between the Japanese pressing and the UK Danish pressing. Personally, I prefer the Japanese pressing because of a more spacious EQ and a beautiful presence and air around the vocals and instruments. However, my guess is that the UK Danish pressing is more faithful to the original master tapes, and just as important, it has no sibilance. In conclusion, it's a tie between the Japanese and UK Danish copies. Have you done comparisons? If so, leave a comment and let me know if you agree with me or if you perhaps have a different pressing that I didn't even mention. Thanks for watching, and check out my guide to identifying counterfeit pressings of this album linked here. Until next time, bye.